we're gonna do something a little bit different tonight. We ordinarily talk among the three of us, and then we bring our guest up later. We're gonna bring in Joe right now, and rather than talking about Joe, the four of us are going to remember our dear friend Dale Wolfley. The first anniversary of his passing is next Tuesday, and so we're going to have a short remembrance of Dale because he meant so much to us. And let me bring Joe on. Joe, so great to see you. You're down in Clay County, West Virginia tonight.
That's right. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to see everybody.
I was thinking about it, Mick, as we were talking about tonight's show. There are so few people in the world that I know that is like Dale Wolfley. He's just one in a million, and it's just been his passing has hit all of us very hard. And Mark, I know you were very close to Wolfman too. First, Mick, your thoughts about Dale Wolfley, and then Mark, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, I really miss the guy. Let me say that first of all, Frank. I can't believe it's been a year just about since his passing. If anybody ever bled blue and gold, it was Dale Wolfley. No question about that. Had a big impact on my life from a couple of perspectives. I told the story before when I had to have emergency surgery when I was flown in from Snowshoe to the University Hospital in Morgantown. Had emergency surgery on my stomach the next morning. When I wake up, who's sitting on my bedside? Dale Wolfley. How he found out, I'll never know. Great supporter. When we had our 50th reunion of the '69 Peach Bowl team, he really went to bat with the athletic director, with the powers that be, and could not have pulled off a better reunion. The guy just worked tirelessly in what he believed, and that was promoting West Virginia football, blue and gold, Mountaineers, a true Mountaineer, no question about it.
Yeah. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was tough on me there. I was in shock for a while. I work with him daily on the Wolfman podcast, and like I said, we talked every day, and I helped promote the show. And I couldn't believe it when he passed away. Just a shock. And I also had dealings with him with the varsity club and so forth myself. And just a great guy. He was really a true Mountaineer.
Yeah. And Joe, you knew him through the varsity club, correct?
I did. I knew him, and of course watched his career. Great player. Really, it was a shock when he passed, for sure.
The situation with Wolf, and Mickey knows this, Mark too, is that when we were working on the book of the 66 through 70 Mountaineers, the football book, Mark was one of the first persons to reach out. How can I help you? And there were others, and one of those persons was Dale Wolfley, and he adopted us. He wanted to promote the book. He was the concept of Band of Brothers, which was actually Mickey was the person who proposed the title. That was Dale. He believed in the band of brotherhood that is football, really all sports, and he adopted us, promoted the book, invited me to be on a show on a weekly basis every Monday. And it was and one of the things that struck me about him was that, I can't think of two people who walk different paths, myself and Dale. I mean, Dale, as a football player and so on, me as a college professor, but we soon found we had a hell of a lot together. And it really was our values, our philosophy, our approach to life. And, the interesting thing about Dale, and I was mentioning it earlier today, is that Dale was not born in West Virginia. He was not a native West Virginian. He actually grew up in Orchard Park, New York, which most people know because of football. It's the home of the Buffalo Bills. And if you know Orchard Park, it's really for the affluent for the most part. It's one of the suburbs of Buffalo, New York, about 15 miles away south of Buffalo. But Dale and his family did not grow up in the wealthier side of town, not at all. And so he and his brothers, Ron came first, and because Ron came to West Virginia, Dale followed him. And talk about a guy who came from out of state. And this is another thing that we had in common. I grew up 30 miles from Orchard Park, up in New York, Western New York. And here we are, two guys who were native New Yorkers who fell in love with Morgantown and West Virginia University. And we shared that. And it was just a tragic loss. And I want to show you this. Thanks to Dale Sparks, who took this photograph. And I love this photograph. And it's really ironic that that's shown Oklahoma State, West Virginia game because we're playing Oklahoma State this weekend. But this was on the scoreboard that Dale captured. And it, in memory of a true Mountaineer, Dale Wolfley. And Mickey and I were talking about this also earlier today. Let me show this. And I hope everyone can see this. I may have to bring this up a bit. I was mentioning to Mickey, and Mark knows this, when he passed away, what I decided to do first was write an article about my relationship with Dale. And I appreciate, a couple thousand people read it. And what came out of that article and people's responses was over and over and over again, just like Valerie Lee Ader from Shepherdstown, he's a true Mountaineer. And that came over and over again. So what I decided to do was put out a notice on a couple of the Facebook sites, actually, that Mark managed at the time, and said, well, would you mind telling me what you think a true Mountaineer is? And then what I'll do is I'll take your input and write another article. And that's what I have on the screen now. And let me read this to you, because I think it is the embodiment of what Dale was, is what he stood for. Using the phrase true Mountaineer elevates a Mountaineer to a level of remarkability. The adjective true carries with it an attribution of authenticity and genuineness. And it also describes a person whose behavior is consistent and unwavering. That's Dale. And by the way, I love this picture. I love this even though you can't see Dale's face, because Dale is in his element. He's out looking at the fans in the stadium. Those who carry the mantle are extraordinary, not only because of how they comport themselves, how they handle themselves, but because others give them the badge. And that's basically, that's Dale. And here we are a year later, and we all miss him. There's no question about that. And I think it's fair to say, there will never, ever be another Dale Wolfley. And I think we're all just so pleased that we had an opportunity to not only spend time with him, but also that he graced us with his presence. Mark, your thoughts, Mickey, and then we'll end with Joe.
Yeah, I just think he was a key part of all this coming together with your book, with all the podcasts, and his podcast has really kind of evolved into this show. And I just think he was a key element in that. And like I said before, he's just a true Mountaineer in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he thought very highly of you, Mark, and I know you felt the same way. Mickey?
Well, Frank, my favorite word, you've heard me use it frequently, synchronicity, which is defined, the meaning of that word is the embodiment of Dale Wolfley, in my opinion. It was a time a year ago when the sum of the individual parts was greater than their individual value when you added it together. You had written the book. Mark was hitting social media really hard every day with all kinds of good Mountaineer stuff. Dale had just started his podcast and was going great guns with that. And it's just like it was, the perfect storm. It all came together. There was a synchronicity effect of all that. And then lo and behold, he's taken away from us. I have no doubt that, wherever he is, that we shall once again in the future, and we'll be able to reflect and reminisce about our days together as true mountaineers.
Yeah. And, Joe, a big part of his heart was all the mountaineers who played for WVU over the decades. I mean, there was no other group of individuals that he thought about, cared about, talked about, supported, and promoted to others than guys like you. And I think especially the guys that, like you, that embodied his image of what Mountaineer football should be. And he made it very clear to me and others that sometimes that blue collar approach, that even if we don't win, the other team will know they really played a hell of a team, that you embodied. That was Wolfman.
One thing that I remember all the respect and love that the other players and that knew him better than I did. I could tell that they really thought a lot of him, and like I say, I didn't know him that well personally, but I knew that he was well respected, well loved in the Mountaineer community.
Yeah, just one more point I wanted to make. I still have on my cell phone all the text messages that Dale and I had communicated with, and I cannot bring myself to erase them.
Yeah.
And there's not a week goes by. There's not a week goes by that I don't pull up. And it's almost like he's still here when I get into those text messages, It's a great it's my way of remembering him and everything that he represents about WVU and Mountaineer football.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, Mark, your comment earlier, I think does apply. We've made it clear we're not here to replace Wolf. You can't replace him. But we want to make sure that whatever we do, we not only respect him, but the spirit of what he was trying to do. We soldier on, because what he was doing was so important. And he cared so deeply about the university, cared so deeply about football. And it wasn't just football as a sport. When, I met Darryl Prue through the Basketball Hall of Famer through him. And so, while we appreciate your taking time to remember Wolf, and I'm going to post those 2 articles on social media. If you want to read them, if you haven't read them, or you want to go back, I think the article about the true Mountaineer is the one that's especially relevant, because there must be at least 25 comments in that article from various people, many of whom are named. You can see their names there, and they all point to not only Dale, but I think all of us. Our responsibility is to try to model what he believed in and did, and be true Mountaineers.